This is part 4 of chapter 8, which now that we know what is or how the equilibrium level of output in an economy is determined in goods and services market according to the basic Keynesian model, we're now wondering what may have caused if any change happened to the level of income, everything else remains the same, or if some of the other things which we have assumed or it's been exogenous or given to us, if they change, what is going to happen to the equilibrium level of income. So this is overly is being covered as the multiplier analysis or adjustment to equilibrium. So if firms react to unplanned inventory, this is basically still ceteris paribus. If the way that they are interacting with the level of output is planned or unplanned inventory, and this is not the price, because price we has assumed is. So let me do it again. So we have our model. We have our model knowing the consumption, saving, or investment, which these two are determined together. So if I tell you that what is the A plus BY as the consumption, you can quickly determine this because you know that Y is either consumed or saved. So this becomes minus A plus 1 minus B Y. We did this, and this is also a certain amount. So exogenous variables here are this A, which is autonomous consumption, and this I. Marginal propensity, this B is marginal propensity to consume, and 1 minus B is marginal propensity to save. And numerical examples we gave was consumption is equal 100 plus MPC is 0.75 in the book, and this is Y. And therefore, if I give you this consumption function, you could quickly calculate minus 100 plus 0.25 Y. So this is a numerical example. And the I0 we gave $25 million or whatever the unit is. So again, the exogenous variable are, these are known, and also the marginal propensity, these are known to us. So if we have our equilibrium with parametric, this is parametric, and this is numerical. If we solve what we did it with numerical with our parameters, so equilibrium condition is Y to be equal to aggregate expenditure, which in this case is these two expenditures, C plus I. Let's put it together. Y should be equal to CA plus BY plus I nil. Okay, and then you can solve it for Y, so it becomes Y minus BY equal A plus I nil, and then the common factor here is Y, so you can take 1 minus B Y equal A plus I nil, and if you basically solve it for Y, it becomes A plus I0 or 1 minus B. So this is the equilibrium equation. So if I give you the numbers, you can put this number, instead of A you put 100, instead of I you can put 25, and instead of this you can put 0.75, and then equilibrium level of income is that 500 which we have determined. Okay, but the way the interesting thing with the parametric solution, which is appearing in the appendix, is the following, that variables are two types: endogenous, oh sorry, but it is with E. Endogenous variables, endogenous versus exogenous. So exogenous variables in our examples are actually that A and I0 and minus A. So A and minus A are basically exogenous, right? The autonomous consumption or autonomous investment is exogenous, and also autonomous investment, because this can be a function of investment interest rate, as we said it before, in negative. But in this case, we said that our interest rate has been constant, so altogether there's certain amount of investment is planned. Now, if I tell you that investment, let's say I0 equal 25, like here it's I0, is changing to I1 equal 50. So it means that the changes in the investment is 25. One way is that you basically add this, and instead of putting 50, you put instead of putting 25, you put 50 and then add it to that and put it into the equilibrium condition, which is this, and solve it again, and you determine the new equilibrium. Another way is that you just say that, okay, one of these things are changing, how much the y is going to change? So it's a partial factor derivative or partial derivative of against one of the exogenous variables, let's say I0. So this is the coefficient is 1 divided by this. That's the way that you work it out, right? 1 minus b, or 1 over 1 minus MPC, or 1 over MPS. And MPS is 0.25, so it's 1 over 0.25, which is 4. It means that if this is changing, instead of this we can put the delta, because it's easier, delta y over delta I. So if we know that delta y is 25, then we would say that equilibrium level of income is changing 4 times more than the changes in the, which is basically 100. So you put here 25, and that means that the new equilibrium, if this is y0, then the new equilibrium, let's call it y1, is gonna be old one plus the delta y, which is 100, is become 600. Okay, so you can use this, is known as the multiplier. Is there the only multivariable multiplier? No, there is also another multiplier for A. So the changes in the y as a result of a change in autonomous consumption. If I tell you that autonomous consumption has increased or decreased, you would say that again the same story. It's the coefficient of this is 1 multiplied by that. So you take this coefficient, so it becomes 1 over 1 minus b. Numerically is that 4 again. So maybe consumption, instead of being 100 plus 0.75 y, it changes to c equal 125 plus 0.75 y. What is going to happen to the equilibrium level of income? Again, because it's 20, this has increased by $25 million, then this is going to be again that 600. We can show these things with I just did it with the equation in a very generic way. We can do it with graphs as well. The intersection of 45-degree line with the new aggregate expenditure. So these are all explained in this part 4. So how economy reacts if the income is not 500. It's going to bounce back to 500 if everything else remains the same. If everything else remains the same, we're going to bounce back to 500. And that is the reasoning. But if one of the exogenous variable change, then we're going to have a new equilibrium. The equilibrium level is going to vary. And this is known as the multiplier variable. The multiplier is the ratio or is a change in equilibrium level of output as a result of a change in exogenous variables. And in this simple model, we had two major exogenous variables. One was autonomous consumption, another one was the planned investment. In this case, that assumptions which I made, that planned investment is increasing by 25. So it means that entire aggregate expenditure 1 is increasing to aggregate expenditure 2, which is aggregate expenditure 1 plus 25. So it's a upward shift, and that shift is 25. So we are moving from intersection of the 45-degree line point A to another intersection with 45-degree line, and this is increase of the y by the 100. So that is basically showing this is basically what I wanted to say, that equilibrium level of output is going to be increasing by additional $100. So graphically we can explain that. So this multiplier, marginal propensity to save, is the changes in the saving over and the delta y is going to be the changes in the investment multiplied by this multiplier. So I just explained all these in a graphical way. There's something called paradox of thrift. If saving is increasing, income is decreasing. So you are expecting that if the society's saving is increasing, it's going to lead to more investment, but it's not going to be working like that, because increase of the saving is the decrease of the consumption. So if you do the consumption function, you will understand this is no longer a paradox. Actually, this is paradox is resolved. And how the multiplier size is changing? Multiplier size in reality is not only affecting by the exogenous variables explained in this model. It might be tax involved, it might be import and export involved, it might be price level involved. So in reality, multiplier is somewhat smaller than this number 4 in this example. And in the US economy, the empirical studies is showing that it is about 2. So this is basically, we have now covered the chapter 8. The next chapter we are going to explain if the economy has also the public sector. So this was private sector only economy. What if we have public sector? We have government. Government is collecting tax and spending like the private sector and goods and services market. What would be the results of the equilibrium? So that is what we're going to do next. And make sure that you will also go through the equations in the appendix, which I have already covered. Thank you.